Hey again, everybody. Murph Krajewski coming to you live from my makeshift office in my daughter's old bedroom. Today, I'm talking to Hernan Balcazar from Compass Insurance Agency up in blessed Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hey, Hernan, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Great. So Hernan had a great experience moving his whole team remote in the midst of the whole quarantine thing. So I thought we'd chat a little bit about that. They're doing some really interesting stuff, especially in the areas of like training and the way that they're keeping their teams engaged. And then we'll kind of explore what's next. So let's start at the beginning. How did your transition to working remote go?
Well, it went pretty smoothly, a lot smoother than one would think, with the different resources that we use as far as having our uh, telephony solutions through Sharpen and having that all in the cloud. We've got a online like cloud resource center, intranet, if you will, that people can go in and use and communicate through using things like Teams to chat with back and forth. It really wasn't that tough at all. We were kind of starting to layer people into working from home before we got the stay-at-home order. So it was basically in an afternoon that we were
Great.
able to set it all up and pick up where we left off.
Yeah, we're hearing more and more that some people had been thinking in advance of the whole work from home thing and exploring it, and this just like forced it and moved it ahead very quickly. So that's great. I'm glad you guys had a good time.
Yeah.
So I was really, really interested in hearing your methodologies around training, even before the move, but then like in the remote involvement, like how all of that is carrying on.
Sure. So we have an in-house trainer already, and we normally do training sessions every Tuesday and Thursday for people, and that kind of helped build this database online of different training videos on different things that we do in the world of insurance. We then, in anticipation of moving to a work at home over the last month, we started doing classes on what are some best practices, using some of the systems at home, what they need from internet standpoint as far as making sure that everything would work. So we went through a couple weeks of that, so nothing was a very big surprise. And we were already in the process of opening up a couple different branch offices and playing around with the idea of doing training just virtually anyway. So we already had people logging in through Teams and doing training that way. So all that helped us prepare for the move.
Great. So are you finding that like when you're doing these training sessions virtually, are you getting the same amount of involvement? I would imagine it would kind of be a natural point for people to get together and see each other's faces and interact.
Yeah, absolutely. We do some different things with it, but we can see everyone in a chat. Everyone can turn their mic on and be able to talk just like we're talking also, sharing screens or whatnot. Our trainer's really good at making sure that he's, asking questions around to everyone and getting people involved. We also play a lot of games and stuff like that where people log into their phone and do different quiz games that pop up prizes or whatnot. So all those different things that get people involved makes it fun.
I've started a thing with my team called a GIF check-in or a GIF check-in, depending on how you pronounce it, where, I just tell everybody, check in with how you're feeling, but you can only respond with an animated graphic. So
perfect.
You get some good stuff that way too. So you were also telling me earlier that you've seen some good like metric improvements as well. Like pause times have been shorter. People have been logging in on time because they're not commuting. Like how are your teams just behaving in the whole environment?
I mean, at first you would have thought, or we would have thought that, maybe some of the interactions and some of their login time would have been less just because of distractions and stuff like that from home. But we've really seen the opposite. People that were kind of strolling in a little bit late. Our start time is 8:30, and I'd get somebody that you'd come in around 8:40, 8:35, something like that. That's kind of gone away. There is no more commute time, so they're ready to go. It's just going from one room of the house to the other to get in at 8:30. People are still getting up, going to the bathroom, getting coffee, stuff like that, but there's nobody in between for them to stop and chit chat with. I think they're still doing that connecting with their peers. It's just most of it is through the instant messenger that we use. We use Teams, but, for people that use Google Hangouts and stuff like that,
Sure.
they're doing that, which is totally fine because they're still sitting at their desk, and whenever any work actions pop up, they're right there in front of it seeing it, as opposed to being in someone else's office and they don't see their screen and they can't see what's going on.
Right. So are the results still holding steady? Are they getting better? Are they going down? Like, what are the end products?
The results are still the same. We haven't seen a dip in production, and the activity is in some cases a little bit higher. I haven't seen an increase in it either, but it's maintained, which is a win.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing you had mentioned when we talked earlier was kind of thoughts around what used to be called work-life balance. Maybe now we're talking about life-work balance and the need to eventually stop when you're at home and
Right.
have a life.
So, and that was part of our part of the training that we had on some best practices for working from home. First making sure that you've got an isolated space where you could work and focus, and you don't have somebody saying, "Hey, can you come do this and go take the garbage out," and stuff like that, right? So we talked about that, but then we also talked about the other end of it, to where when it's 5:30 and it's time for you to log off and get back to family life, go ahead and do that, and don't log out of the system at 5:30, go have dinner, but then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock, maybe you're tempted to jump back in there. Some people may, maybe they'll take advantage of that because they might be struggling with numbers and they want to get their contact rate up, and that's okay. But then we kind of tell people to, talk to their family and maybe assign a day. Maybe Tuesday is their work late day, and it's scheduled, and not so much they're just wandering in and they heard an email come in, and next thing you know, it's an hour later and
Right.
they're working even more.
Yeah, guilty. Have done that.
Yeah.
I've been in that boat before. So what are you guys thinking going forward? Are you, I don't think the world will ever go back to the way we were purely, but when we're no longer required to be at home and we can go back to an office, are you thinking differently about how you might approach business?
A little bit. I mean, we'll wait and see, but I think this has been a good experiment, if I can call it that,
Mhm.
to where maybe it's an opportunity for some tenured people that have been there for a while and proven themselves. Maybe we can give them an option to work from home, whether it's full time or part time, or have some flex time to where they can work from home, because now we've got some of the measurables out there to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean,
Right.
I think all businesses kind of have to look at that now after doing this.
Yeah, we're definitely in a period of growth and learning and change. And I think there's opportunity there
Mhm.
for, those who choose to find it. Great. Well, I'm
Mhm.
glad to hear that things are going well for you. Your teams are staying engaged. So far, so good. Yeah, thanks for spending a few minutes chatting.